name is Ashley Allen. I serve as the Executive Director of Inclusion and Intercultural Experiences, and I want to welcome you all to our 2025 MLK Day Keynote panel. This is the opening event of a week-long event dedicated to honor the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Our theme for this year is Continuing the Legacy, Service, Justice, and Action. It's a theme rooted in one of Dr. King's most thought-provoking questions. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Dr. King delivered these words during a sermon in Montgomery, Alabama in 1957, reminding his audience that service is the true measure of greatness. It was a call to action, not just for the civil rights movement, but for all aspects of life, urging each of us to contribute to the betterment of others. This question compels us, even today, to consider how we use our time, our talents, and our resources to uplift those around us. On days like today, when we reflect on our values amidst societal challenges, it's essential to dig deeper. We live in a time where narratives around justice and inclusion are often met with resistance, and yet these are precisely the moments that require us to push forward with even greater resolve. Dr. King believed that service, justice, and love could break through division and create lasting change. He reminded us that while the road might be difficult, our collective action is what shapes a better future. This week, we've embraced that spirit of action through a campus-wide service project. Together, as a community, I'm excited to share that we've collected over 1,500 books and counting that will be donated to Longfellow Liberal Arts Elementary School. Can you all give yourself a round of applause for that? These books represent more than an act of charity. They are a commitment to empowering young minds, fostering a love of learning, and investing in the next generation. I'd like to take a moment to thank the people who have made this week possible. Thank you to the members of the MLK Planning Committee for your dedication and supporting the vision for this week. Thank you to all of our campus partners who are part of hosting events throughout the week. I'd like to give a special thanks to Carrie Bass and Lucas Street, the Office of Student Inclusion and Diversity, and all of the student organizations who are playing a vital role in organizing the book drive. I shouldn't have started to name people because I'm sure I left so many off that list, but I really want to thank everyone that I've worked with because, again, it takes not just a village but a community to be able to make a week like this a huge success. And so I just want to share that I'm deeply grateful for each of those that have helped with this program. So today's keynote panel brings together leaders in our Quad City community who exemplify Dr. King's legacy through their work. Their efforts reflect what it means to empower others, advance equity, and create lasting change. And so as you listen to their stories and what they're doing in the community, I encourage you to reflect on your own journey and ask yourself, what am I doing for others? And so thank you all for being here, for your dedication to service, and for continuing the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so at this time, please join me in welcoming our college president, Andrea Talentino, who will share brief remarks.
Hello, everybody. It's really nice to see a crowded room here on this occasion. I'm going to talk just a little bit about two things. And don't worry, I won't go on too long because we have an incredible panel of people who are going to be far more eloquent about things than I am. But, first I want to talk just a little bit about why we're gathered here today and the legacy of Dr. King. When I first started my career at Tulane University in Louisiana, I worked with colleagues who remembered segregated drinking fountains and bathrooms in the city of New Orleans. And that was kind of a shock for me at the time because I thought of that as so far distant. I thought nobody that's living that I'm with, right, would have been alive in that time. And it was a great reminder that that is not that distant time. it is a time that's still kind of very much with us, and that many people who are still alive today, and probably some people that you've met, remember. And it's also, I think, an important reminder that, as Dr. King knew better than anybody, right, the arc of change is very long. Part of what is so incredible about him and his legacy, I mean, he was a titan of United States history for all the things that he did in his too brief lifetime, but all those things also have deep and long legs, which have continued in the decades since to impact us all in many ways. And, you know, Ashley was just talking about community, and one of the most important things, I think, and he articulated this as early as his letter from Birmingham jail, when he talked about the fact that it is a group effort, it must be a group effort, and it's not just, that group cannot just be composed of those who are most directly affected, right, the people who had to sit at the back of the bus, but that group also has to be composed of people who are indirectly connected and maybe not even connected, because if we're living in the community, then we are all impacted by it. And we have to understand that even if I can choose to sit wherever I want on the bus, that my engagement with that system and my acquiescence in it is something important about how that system continues or doesn't continue. And so therefore we all have a responsibility, and this really goes along with what Ashley was talking about, right, that we all have to work with each other and with others. We have a responsibility to connect with those where we see injustice, even where we may not fully understand it, but we know that we need to engage with it. And so that's one of his most important legacies that goes far beyond him as a person, him as that great kind of lion of history, but really sort of reminding us what is important as we think about our own existence, our own commitment to each other, and our own commitment to bettering the system that we live in. The other thing I want to talk about just a minute is how, briefly, is how much this matters for us here in Rock Island. We have the privilege of living, even if you're just here for 4 years at Augustana, right, you're still living here. So we have the privilege of living in an extraordinarily diverse community. And I say privilege because I really believe that. There's lots of people who come look at Rock Island and say, well, it's not as nice as, you know, Naperville or places like that. But to me, Rock Island is an incredible place because the tapestry of difference and diversity that it has in it. You think of the different colors and languages and religions that we have. I mean, this is really an incredible place. And Rock Island thinks of itself and has sort of an awareness of itself as a place where different kinds of people can come and where they can thrive and survive. But in order to make that a reality, we have to all be working to make sure that we're doing it. And that's something that's important for Augustana as well, is really working with and connecting to that community. And so making sure that we're a partner in opening opportunity, in creating possibility, in ensuring vitality for everybody who lives around us. So I'm excited to be here. I had originally not thought I would be able to be here today. I'm really happy to be able to be here and be part of this celebration, and also this kind of remembering the meaning, the value, the input of Dr. Martin Luther King. And thank you to the panel for being here today. We have an amazing bunch of folks, and with that, I'm going to sign off, but I thank you all for being here. And the one thing I ask of you is don't just sit passively and listen. Really think. Think about what you do. Think about who you are, and think about how you can take steps. Don't have to be big, but how can you take steps to live out the legacy and contribute to that arc of change in ways that will be beneficial for you, your family, and people that you don't even know. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, President Talentino. At this time, before we begin the panel discussion, I do want to take a moment to recognize the leadership and the voice of our students who are central to this campus and its ongoing legacy. So at this time, it is my privilege to introduce a couple members of the Black Student Union, Anaya Davis, who serves as the president, and Raina Hells, who serves as the vice president of Black Student Union.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anaya Davis, and I am a senior here at Augustana. I major in psychology with a minor in Spanish, and I am this year's president of Black Student Union.
My name is Raina Hells. I'm a junior here. I'm also majoring in psychology with a minor in creative writing, and I'm this year's vice president of Black Student Union.
Us here at Black Student Union, also known as BSU, know a little something about legacy. Black Student Union was the first, established in 1968, and still is one of the most foundational culture groups on campus. We have spent decades being activists for the community, from collaborating with Reverend Jesse Jackson during the Civil Rights Movement to the 2020 Black Lives Matter vigil held right here on campus. It's likely you already know this about us. However, what many people don't know about BSU is that we were founded the same year Martin Luther King was laid to rest. Many feared Dr. King's passing would extinguish the hope and drive within the movement. Instead, a new beginning was formed from those who took up his mantle to ensure his legacy would live on.
We want to start this off by telling you a story about a young man in the heart of Alabama who heard Martin Luther King's sermons on matters such as the Montgomery bus boycott. Inspired this hardworking young man to fight for change he wanted to see in the world. This man grew up to be Mr. John Lewis, who was a strong civil rights activist, speaker, and freedom writer. A group who challenged segregated facilities at interstate bus terminals in the South and inspired many Americans to take action. John Lewis was a founding member of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, who were instrumental in the success of the most famous demonstrations of the civil rights movement. While some individuals at the time felt the movement should be represented by its elders and only the most educated members of the community, Dr. King saw value in the energy, drive, and creativity these students had. Without SNCC's ideas, training sessions in nonviolence, literacy, and civics tutoring, we may not have seen the Freedom Rides, the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, or the successful voter registration for Black Americans in the 1960s. Mr. John Lewis's story inspires students like us to find value in what we can do for the cause. Many student groups have been collaborating with our wonderful administration since November to fill this week with meaningful acts of service for our community in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy. Culture groups, Greek Life, Student Government Association, and others pledged our budgets and time towards the Longfellow Book Drive to help make sure young kids have access to a diverse education. We gathered some of our best talent to share their work in connection to service and justice at the open mic night this Wednesday, and we continue beyond MLK Week to ingrain service into our goals for the future.
We have found and had the foundation laid out for us from leaders of the past to learn about who we are as a community and where we are going. But now is the time to act. It is time to take action and continue the legacy of Martin Luther King and the future legacies for generations to come. To our fellow peers, continue to use your voice and your knowledge to change the game. Step up as we enter a new era of education, politics, health, and love, because you were put on this earth for a reason. Because there is no change where there is no action. And without change, who knows where the world would be right now. Martin Luther King established his legacy. Now it's time to write yours. Thank you.
At this time, we have a student performance that will be held right before our panel discussion. But Charlotte Boyer is a junior here at Augustana. She is studying psychology. And one thing about Charlotte is she performed on The Voice in 2020 on NBC. That is a show on The Voice. So at this time, we want to share the talents of Charlotte Boyer, and she is going to be performing A Change is Going to Come. And immediately following her will be Dr. Wolf in the panel.
Hello, hello. How are you guys doing out there? Okay, there we go. I was born by the river in a little tin orange, just like the river. I've been running ever since. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Say I go to the movies and I go downtown. Someone keep telling me don't you hang around. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Well, then I go to my brother and I say, brother, help me, please. Won't you help me? Till he winds up knocking me well down on my knees. And there've been times that I thought I couldn't last for long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Whoa, yes it will.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'd like to invite our panelists up, and I can introduce you while people can see you, if that sounds okay. I'm Dr. Wolf from the Religion Department, and we're really excited to have you all here today. That was such an amazing performance, Charlotte. Thank you for that. It's a hard act to follow, but we'll let it slide this time. That was just beautiful. So, please have a seat. We have a really exciting exciting session for you all today, and we are going to have time for Q&A, so if you have questions that are forming, get those ready for that time. The title is Empowering Communities and Shaping Our Future, and I'd like to introduce our esteemed guests to you all today. I should say that Jen Osteen is not going to be here because she is not well, and I invite us all to follow in her footsteps of we share wisdom, not germs. So if you're feeling like you might have something that could get someone sick, thank you for coming. Feel free to sneak out now. We don't want that. So thank you, Jen, for doing the right thing. All right, so I'll introduce you in order here from the audience's right to left, if that makes sense. So we'll start with T. LaShore. T has extensive experience in the field of community violence intervention and supervision of homicide and other violent crimes programs. She holds a bachelor's and a master's degree in criminal justice and law enforcement administration and is currently pursuing a doctorate in education leadership and administration at Western Illinois University. LaShore is the Community Violence Intervention and Engagement Director at Family Resources. She's founder of Tee It Up Movements and president of the Quad Cities Unity Pride Board. And as if that is not enough, LaShore has also been the founder and president of ALPHA's, African American Lesbian Professionals Having a Say, which provides advocacy, resources, and education for the LGBT community. Welcome, LaShore. We are happy to have you here today. Next, we also have Avery Pearl. You might recognize Avery. Avery came and went to school here at Augustana College. He also graduated from United Township High School and went on to earn an RBSI Master's Certificate from Duke University. He is working as a West End Revitalization Coordinator for the City of Rock Island and is passionate about urban development and turning dilapidated communities into thriving assets. Amazing, so excited to hear from you. And last but not least, we have Julie Larson, who is the president and CEO of the YWCA Quad Cities. The YWCA Quad Cities has an array of programs and services, but most importantly, they meet the immediate needs of clients by providing food, clothing, rental assistance, and other necessary support. Larson has served there for more than 25 years. She started in kindergarten, y'all. We're gonna get the eye cream secrets later. She received her bachelor's degree in management from Purdue University, Krannert, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. Okay, School of Management, and holds an MBA from St. Ambrose, which we've heard of. I see some other alum in the audience here. So, thank you all. We're excited to hear from you. Some of the questions I might direct to all of you, some of them to specific people, but obviously you're free people. If you want to say something, and if you don't, pass it on. But this first question I'd like to direct to all of you so we can pass the mic around. In February of 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a powerful sermon in which he said, "Everybody can be great because everybody can serve." This statement challenges us to see greatness through acts of service. To begin, I'd like to invite each of you to share what inspired you to start your journey of service, a little about the work you currently do, and how your efforts reflect Dr. King's enduring legacy of service, justice, and action.
So I didn't start my career at a nonprofit. I actually was working for a for-profit. Didn't know a lot about what nonprofits or the YWCA did. After the birth of our third child, I needed to take some time off because it was a little crazy. And I wanted to get involved in the community. So I called a friend and said, "Hey, I'd like to volunteer. Do you have any suggestions?" And she said, "The YWCA would be a perfect fit for you. You can even bring your kids to the board meetings." So I thought, this is great. This works out good. So I started and I volunteered on the board. I helped paint classrooms. I helped fundraise for life safety renovations and what have you. I took a position as vice president and then later became the president. And one day the executive director at the time said, you know, I'd really like you to come and work for the YWCA. You understand our mission and such. So I took a part-time position, which was supposed to be 1 day a week, quickly led to 5 days a week. And then I ended up becoming the co-executive director with her. And here today, 27 years later, I'm the CEO of the YWCA. And I just really believe you cannot instill passion in people. They either have a passion for it or they don't. And I just really felt a passion for the YWCA. So later on, my mom said, you know, you learned how to swim at the YWCA. And remember going to church and then going to eat in the cafeteria with Grandma and Grandpa afterwards? And so she pulled out pictures from Easter Sunday when I was 3 years old and we had matching outfits. She was a big sewer. And so I believe that I'm where I'm supposed to be and will close out my career at the YWCA. So that's what led me to the YWCA and serving our community.
For me, a lot of my drive for this work came from living in communities that were facing disparities, had a lot of issues going on. I look at my community, my reality, my home, compared to those other communities, and as a child, I would realize that something was different. And that pain ultimately led me to have a love for doing something about these problems. I wanted to become the change I wish to see in the world. I wanted to lead by example, and so that's what I came to Augustana to do, truly, was to find others who were doing that, to find leaders and work and information to be able to help me be able to address these problems in the real world. And so from there, I graduated, opened a recording studio with my brother over in East Moline, and was wanting to give back to the community, was unsure how to get involved because it felt like there was a lot of professionals who had been doing this for years. I didn't want to just jump in and be like, hey, I'm here, let's get to work. Wanted to respect all the work that they had been doing, the arc of change that they had been investing into. And so, you know, every master has to be a student sometimes, and, well, not sometimes, all the time, but became a student to the work. So I got involved at Project Renewal. That's an after-school program over in Davenport. I was doing remote learning, worked my way up to assistant to the director. Went from there to the Lincoln Center over in Davenport, was assistant director over there, and then from there, now I'm at the King Center in Rock Island, doing the Western Revitalization Plan, and all of this based in the fact that, for me, I believe that we aren't a victim to our life circumstances. We can choose to respond to our life circumstances how we want to and make our life what we want it to be in the future, and so I'm owning that power in the work that I do every day and showing up to be that change that I wish to see to address these problems.
Unlike them, y'all, I had to write me some notes. They the experts, really. So, I grew up with some great challenges in my childhood. I was involved in some things that I probably shouldn't have been involved in, and made some really poor choices. And although I did that, in school there was a counselor and a math teacher who decided to go above and beyond the call of duty. And although they chastised me, which was probably what I needed at the time, they encouraged me to be and do better. So I have to give credit to Miss Bobby Lestraps, I don't know if y'all know her, and Mr. Charles Robinson, rest in peace. They believed in me past my issues. And they gave me a hand up, not a handout, but a hand up. And as I grew under that direction, I accepted that I could do something different in life than what I had seen and what I was used to. So years later, after accepting that correction, is what I'll call it, in direction, I ended up working for the Rock Island School District with kids that had issues just like me. And so I began to work with them, and I understood them, and it was important for me and for them to be what they needed. And so I began to educate myself, meaning reading and going to a higher educational institution to, get my degree and really find my focus. And so I wanted to hone in on what issues the kids were dealing with and why they behaved in the manner that they did. Even myself, why did I behave that way growing up? And so I grew a genuine love for understanding behavior, which led me to the desire to understand my community as well and increase my passion to serve people. And so currently, I serve as the Director of Community Violence Intervention, overseeing programming and services for those impacted by homicide and other violent crimes. But I also oversee an initiative that's called Group Violence Intervention, which is really saying to the community, hey, we want to see you alive, safe, and out of prison, and we want to see the violence stop, and we want to really offer you a genuine offer of help, and that is extended through law enforcement, through social services, as well as the community, because we all know community leaders that have been our heroes in our community for years, way past what social services and law enforcement could ever have done. And so that is the position I sit in right now, and I also am over a coordinated assessment program for youth who have experienced an array of issues of trauma, especially in our marginalized and underserved communities. I pride myself in that because as a disadvantaged African-American female growing up, I have personal experiences of the lack of service, the lack of injustice, and the lack of just communication and being able to access the resources that are available to other communities. And so I pride myself on that because now I can sit in places every day. It encourages me to, in my position, to advocate, to fight, and continually speak on platforms for those whose voices are otherwise not heard.
I'm asking them to scoot closer to me because maybe I smell, we don't know, but they're gonna just deal with it. Okay, so everyone's comfortable. Thank you for that, Mrs. LaShore. That, each of you, your responses, I think, is encouraging to us in this room because none of you said since I was 7 years old, I knew this was the work I was going to go into, or people said, you got promise, kid, you go, right? And so it's very relatable. We're all a mess and figuring things out, and so I thank you for sharing those stories. Our next question was meant to be for both alumni, so it's all on you, Mr. Pearl. Here we go. As an alumni of this college, can you please share what inspired you during your time as a student and how you transformed that into meaningful action to create positive change in the local community and beyond?
So to start, we'll have to give one shout out to Miss Carrie Bass. I'm not sure if she is in the room, but I'm sure many of you do know her in this room. I had countless conversations with her about life, where I was going, what my plans were, what I was passionate about, what I hated, aptitude tests, you name it. I worked in court also, so I was very close to Dr. Edmondson, Ms. Slater, the whole team over there. But then also my faculty advisor, Chris Witt, Dr. Chris Witt, he really took me under his shoulder, and he was doing a lot of work in the community also. I had family members doing work in the community, and so when they'd have community meetings at Augustana, as a student, he'd pull me in. I wouldn't know what they're talking about, what the ideas were, how to support, anything along those lines. But being able to be there and listen and hear about the work that was being done put things into a different perspective for me, to where it wasn't just theory we were talking about in class, it was real life problems. And not just Dr. Chris Witt, because he is the one who opened the door for me to go on to Duke and do a lot of different things. I've taken up a lot of his work since he's left the Quad Cities and been a part of those organizations that he was a part of. So his legacy really set a path for me, but ultimately I knew coming here that I was looking for ways to tangibly address the issues that I seen in the world. Looking for people to support me in that process, to mentor me, to guide me. And Augustana has a plethora of those people. And I want you all to know, as an Augustana alumni, seeing what I've seen in this world, we stack up to any of them. Any college graduate, you name it, university graduate, we can compete. We're ready to compete, and you have some of the best scholars and support here at Augustana there is. And so when I say you guys are ready. Believe me when I say this, the world needs you out here solving these problems, supporting these issues, and putting passion back into the world. You know, here at Augustana, there's so many people who live in their purpose, who are guided by their passion. Find those people, connect with them. Make sure you are here networking and understanding that this is a professional space, just as it is a place for nurturing and guidance and transitioning from a child to an adult. And so that's what I found here ultimately, was that this is an environment to be able to refine yourself, refine your purpose, refine your center. Why do you do what you do? Understand where you're trying to go, and then build a correct path to get to that place. And not just the path, the character you need to win in life. There are people with great character here. You're not just gonna pop out. You know, you gotta do some work, go and find them, but in being in alignment with who you are, you'll find those people. You'll make those connections. So just keep stepping, keep doing what you do, and that's how I ultimately found myself and found the work that I wanted to pursue at Augustana.
That was so beautifully put. Thank you for that, Mr. Pearl. Wow. Great to hear about the mentors who inspire us, and that now you're that person. You know, you never think of it, and you're inspiring us in this room. Next, this question is for Ms. LaShore. You've worked across different sectors, from violence intervention to education to advocacy for people of color and LGBTQ+ communities. How do you bring your diverse experiences together, and what role does intersectionality play in shaping the future of communities that embody Dr. King's legacy?
So I do many things in the community. From working to running my own organization, to the boards I sit on, to being an active community member, volunteering. I also, I didn't put this in my bio, but I also run a pantry, Cordelia's Pantry. So I probably every day am doing something. I also encounter a diverse population of people as well. And so with that, I think as a leader in this community, I think that gives me a lot of experience. And so when I enter into a room, I always enter in as a learner first and a leader secondly. And by doing so, I understand where my knowledge can be best used. So intersectionality, I believe, plays a huge role in that. So when I walk into a room, I need to know who I am in that room. And so I encourage you, as we talk about intersectionality, to know who you are in a room. It will help guide you. It's also crucial for shaping the future as well. The interconnectedness of social identities like race, class, gender, sexuality, ability, and how they influence your experience of privilege and oppression is important to understand. And so Dr. King's legacy should encourage the advancement of civil rights, social justice, policies, and activism to create a more holistic and effective approach to Dr. King's dream of a just, equitable, and inclusive world. And so that's what intersectionality means to me. And so even in this room, I need to know, I'm sitting at this table and I'm utilizing the knowledge that I have to hopefully inspire you. And so I encourage you to, as you sit in those different rooms, to know, to understand your privilege and that oppression, as well as the intersectionalities that you have, whether you're walking in as a brown girl or you're walking in identifying differently. Know who you are in that space and utilize that.
Thank you for that. It was a really nice counter to what we usually hear with self-care, to say, no, we need policy change. And so thank you for that emphasis. And so much of the community service you all do is not about profit for yourself. You know, you're thinking of others, and it runs counter to so much of the messaging today. I really appreciate that. Next, I'd like to direct this question to Ms. Larson. Leading organizations that address social justice and equity requires both collaboration and the ability to lead with a vision that challenges the status quo. Can you share examples of the YWCA initiatives or partnerships that have been the most impactful in your work and have brought about the change you envisioned for the people of the YWCA serve?
The YWCA has always been a strong collaborator. We understand that there are limited resources in our community, and we can achieve so much more if we work together versus doing something alone. The YWCA, we collaborate with Family Resources every Friday. Miss Tammy comes to the YWCA and teaches life skills. Avery and I were just talking about how the kids at the Place to Be planted trees, and it was a community service project. So it's really amplifying the resources in the community. And so if I look back in 2010, I don't know if you've heard of the Doris and Victor Day Foundation. The director, Alan Egley, called me and said, "Hey Julie, do you have room in the annex building, any space available?" I said, "Yeah, we have some space available. Can I come and take a look at it?" "Sure, when do you want to come and look at it?" "How about now?" I said, "Okay, I'll be over there in about 10 minutes. And he came over, and he had a group of people with him, probably 15 people, and I had no idea. It was individuals from our local churches, a few community leaders, and his vision was to have an overnight shelter for youth. It was impossible at the time because of DCFS regulations. However, we were able to have a drop-in center for homeless and at-risk youth in our community, which today stands as the Place to Be and has been going strong for 15 years. Without that collaboration, that would have not been possible. And there's so many different community partners that help make the Place to Be what it is. And again, it's sharing those resources. We don't have the funding to hire somebody to come every Friday and do life skills. We don't have the funding for a mental health specialist. And so if we can take advantage of those individuals, those agencies, then we can meet the unique needs of our community by working together. And such came about our Empowerment Center, which is a really cool program that provides a food pantry, job placement assistance, employment training services. And again, we collaborate with numerous agencies in our community to make it successful. And like I always tell my staff, there's no I in team. We all work together better, and we can accomplish so much more together.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna switch the order of the next question, so brace for impact. As you all reflect on your journey, what has been your proudest moment in advancing Dr. King's vision of service and justice? Should we start with Ms. LaShore?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What's been your proudest moment is the short version.
So, I would honestly say the people's lives that I've been able to impact. I mean, I've had TV interviews, I've been on documentaries, one of Avery's actually. I've done radio interviews, I've had articles written, but nothing has influenced me more than seeing the people in our community thriving and encouraged and empowered through something that I've assisted them with or helped them, get resources for. So I would say the lives that I've impacted. Maya Angelou said it best. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And so that's my goal.
I dovetail off that and say the inspiration that I've been able to give through others through my service. And I really love that arc of change terminology because it explains how change doesn't happen in one lifetime. It's a collective process, it's a marathon. We inherit the work and we're expected to keep it alive too. And being able to see beyond my own personal needs and understand that we're in an interconnected world where things that may not happen to us directly still affect us, and understand that if we all are what's in it for me, or what do I get, then the work stops. So then making that choice to be able to continue to serve, even if it doesn't always feel easy, not always fun, but understanding there's something bigger than our personal needs and interests going on here in life, and being able to instill that in another generation, other people older, younger, it really doesn't matter. Just being able to keep that light alive in others and see them become hopeful for what comes in the future probably is my greatest, most proud moment of this work.
Well, that's a hard one. I've been at the Y for a long time. You know, I love seeing the little kids walk in the daycare every day, the smiles on their faces, and the parents are able to go to work, and they know that their child's in a safe environment. The individuals who enter our employment training programs, and they get a job, or you know, they get better pay, a living wage. But my proudest moment was when we had our groundbreaking ceremony for our new YWCA facility on October 15th, 2021. We finally raised the funds to build a new building, and then the pandemic really hit, and there were chain supply issues and what have you, but I was told there's no way you're gonna raise the funds, there's no way that you're gonna be able to build a new facility and such, and not to prove them wrong or anything, but it made us work harder because it's not about me, it's about the people that we serve. A building is just a building, it's the people that come in there, it's your team that you work with, it's the people that you serve, and it's just a very good feeling every day now. We moved in last June, just to see the smiles, and so we got to give the children in the Child Care Center a peek of the new facility before it opened to the public. And our staff wanted to do a video, and first it was Bye Bye Bye, the song, Walking Away from the Y, and then Moving On Up. If you ever, you're too young to know about the Jeffersons theme song, but it was so cute seeing their faces. There was one little child who walked into every classroom and just said, wow, and you know, just to see their faces and you know, the responses, is this for us? Do we get to come here? And the families, just knowing that, you know, their children are in a secure, safe environment, and that everybody is welcome there, regardless of your race, religion, you know, all are welcome at the YWCA, and it's just, it makes me feel good to have a place like that for our community.
It's interesting, across all three of you, you were attentive to emotion, and I don't think we hear that enough. And that's really interesting how you're attentive to the emotions of others, that's what sticks with people, is how you make them feel. Do they feel seen? Do they feel heard? Do they feel respected? And you were talking about when your emotions drop, how do you keep going? And you're getting at also the emotions of the people that you're affecting. And so I thank you all for that, because that's a really important element, I think, as we're like thinking about this work together. And now that we've done all the softball questions, we're gonna go hit it hard now, so it's over. Okay, so this is a question for all of you. In today's climate, there can be some negative narratives around diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's interesting, I was just serving on a hiring committee for a tenure track position here, and the candidates that we were attracting were people who were saying, we love that you have DEI on your website. We love that you care about that. I want to flee my state. I want to go somewhere where that seems important. So yes, a hot topic right now. So Dr. King said, the time is always right to do what is right. What advice do you have for students seeking to do what is right? How can individuals still make a meaningful difference in their own communities and stay inspired to keep pushing and advocating despite these challenges?
So advocacy for justice and empowerment involves actively standing up for fairness, equality, human dignity, and often by challenging oppressive systems and working towards systematic change, right? And so Dr. King's quote, "The time is always right to do what is right," reminds us that the pursuit of justice is, oh, I done lost my space, I told you I was old, is a constant ongoing effort, and that the opportunity to make a difference is always present. And so no matter the circumstances, we can always make a difference. Every day is a new day to begin again, and so why not start today? My advice is to begin with a commitment to understanding the needs and the struggles of others. Educate yourself about the issues and use your voice and action to advocate for change by participating in community service, joining local activism groups, BSU, see I got y'all, and even using your social media platforms to raise awareness. Even small actions like supporting local businesses, fighting for inclusive policies, or speaking out against injustices can lead to meaningful change. Now, in order to do that, I need you guys to stay grounded, because y'all young people, you get with it, right? So I need you to stay grounded. Remind yourself of your why. Why are you doing this? And then build your supportive networks. I'm sure on this campus, as Avery has spoken, you guys have a lot of people with similarities that you can connect to. And then always, you know, this is hard work. Take care of you. You have to stop. You have to make sure that you're not experiencing any burnout, or you're getting taking in that emotion and causing maybe some physical harm to you, or not physical harm, but some harm to yourself, because it is a heavy job. And then celebrate the progress. We're sitting up here on a panel today that might be a small step to you, but that's a huge win in your lives, in the community, and things that we do. We got people sitting here that can give you some knowledge about what they do in the community. And always pay attention to history. Events like today will give you knowledge about the experiences of those who have come before us. Pay attention, learn from them, and then lead the way.
We got the same answers, something like that. But like I said earlier, self-awareness is key for me. And starting there, knowing who you are, like she said, what is your why? What makes you get out of bed each morning? What makes you cry? What makes you smile? Knowing these things is like a guidepost to purpose, you know? And having the right center allows you to stay grounded and remain grounded through life's turmoil. Life circumstances will give you ups, downs, highs, lows, lefts, rights, everything. And if you don't have that inner centering, it'll take you wherever it goes, like a bag in the wind, you know? And so being grounded, for me, it's my faith. For you all, it can be whatever you base it in, but that's what allows me to stay firm in myself and not get caught up in everything going on in the world constantly. But then second, know where you want to go. Have a destination. The Alice in Wonderland, the Cheshire Cat said, or she asked the cat, where do I go? And it said, where do you want to go? And she said, I don't know. So it said, well, does it matter what I tell you then? If you don't know where you're going, the path doesn't matter. So know where you're trying to go, and then once you know where you're trying to go, build a path. Work with other people, find people who are wanting to go to that same destination, walk with them. Let their triumphs and failures be learning lessons for you, and vice versa. Build together. Life is an interconnected process, so don't go at it alone. I know it's easy to be independent and strong, and I don't need any, that is weak. Let me tell you, I've tried it that way a million times. Don't. Trust your people, find people to walk with you, and then build the character internally that you need to win in whatever destination you set for yourself. If that means going and being the greatest chef, what type of character do great chefs have? If that means going and being the greatest public nonprofit servant, what type of character do the greatest of those have? Understanding where you're trying to go and then building that character within allows us to rise above our life circumstances and respond in a new way that's becoming of us rather than react in a way that we've always been. Nobody's at fault for their life circumstances, but everybody's at responsibility for handling them. And if we can all do that, we can come together whole, we can heal together, and we can get to tomorrow, a greater tomorrow, in a more efficient fashion.
I think it's important to remember that every step towards equity matters. It was a few years back when Dr. Christopher Witt was at Augustana College. We did a lot of work with him. And he said, tell me about your mission, eliminating racism, empowering women, and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. And he said, wow, you're gonna eliminate racism. And I said, well, yeah, that's a big charge. I mean, and I think what is important to note is that we all have big issues in our lives, but it's dismantling those into smaller pieces that are doable steps. So we started doing forums in the community, a Young Black Leaders Forum. We did one with community leaders. It's listening to the community. It's listening instead of talking, and taking action based on that information. We started the Race Against Racism and honored individuals in our community for their work. We do the Stand Against Racism every year with the YWCA USA, a week without violence. So it's understanding that while there's a larger issue at hand, if we can kind of pick it apart piece by piece and at least make some difference in our community, then the work is all worthwhile. So I think sometimes it does get overwhelming and you feel like it's 2 steps forward and 2 steps back, but it's just taking, being happy about the small successes along the way, because that will, lead to greater things in the future.
That was so well put, thank you. Being a little bit flighty professor, I'm gonna go back to the last thing, because I forgot to mention something when I was talking about the different attention to emotion that each of you had, because you in passing said, not to prove them wrong, but yeah, I mean, sometimes that negative feeling, that's powerful. Prove people wrong. People who don't believe in you, people who thought you wouldn't do something, that negative emotion can really drive you and it can be powerful. It can't always be bubbly, right? Like sometimes we have to make use of the negative emotions as well. And I want to put all you graphic design majors out there, invitation to make a poster of the things that were just said. That was such good advice. To say, have your self-awareness. If you know yourself, you will be grounded and centered. From there, you can discern your purpose. Have a destination. Don't just be at the whim of the wind. Don't go it alone. To hear that from a man in our society, I mean, this is some really lovely representation of masculinity to say, don't go it alone. You need a community. And that we're not, we don't control our circumstances, but we are responsible for how we handle them. I'm sorry, I just had to slow down because I was like you were just saying so many great things, and then both of you as well to say, sometimes you can wake up every day and say, oh, I didn't fix racism. Like that can't be the goal, right? And so you gotta break down little steps and then celebrate the little steps. I mean, for me as a nerd, it was a dissertation. If I woke up every day and said, oh, I didn't write my dissertation, you're never gonna get done because you're down in the dumps. But if you have those little landmarks and then celebrate them with your community, that's such great advice. Sorry, I'm gushing now. We'll keep going. I just have 2 more questions, then we're gonna turn it over to you all. So on that note of you all talking about how the students can be helpful, active in their communities, what does it mean to be a valued volunteer and or employee at your organization? Just to give people, sometimes we need a clear vision of what are you as the director or the CEO or the founder looking for? What are those traits?
All right, so for me, it's a way for us to be in community. A lot of the work can be high-level meetings and building pilots and programs, or just stuff that keeps us in our office behind our computers typing away. But the volunteering aspect, the service aspect, allows us to really connect with those who are the recipients and those who are the providers for community itself. And community in 2025 is something that is not very healthy right now. We have strong communities still, but we're very divided in a lot of ways. And so any opportunity we get to actually come together in community and share, to see that we have more commonalities than we actually have differences, it's always a great opportunity for us to do it. And really being able to expand our collective sphere of influence, meaning that we all have things we care about, but there's only so much we can control in what we care about. And so when we can all come together and work to address what we actually care about, we can expand we can expand our influence as to what we can actually change in this world. And so that collective action conversation that she was talking about, coming together, being stronger together than we are individually, that's what the service and the volunteerism and just the people who want to see something change in the community, when we all come together, it becomes that much more possible. And it reminds me that it's bigger than me, you know.
I'll be honest with you. I'm a relationship type of person, so, and I'm also like, what kind of vibe you giving me? So when I do a lot of my, even as an executive director, I do a lot of my interviews still for my direct staff, even though I have a supervisor. And the reason that I do that is because I really want to know, so I tell my staff all the time, I can't give you the passion that I have. I can't give you the commitment that I have, and I can't give you the work ethic that I have. You either got to come in the door with that passion and commitment, or you're just here to do a job. And people will know that. And so I encourage volunteers and employees alike to really have a love for people and a passion to really want to do the work. Otherwise, you're just here to do a job. And you can go in this community and you can try to fake it till you make it. We know it. And somebody eventually is going to call you out and say, hey, look, we don't want what you're selling. And so what I encourage and what I also look for in volunteers and employees alike is your passion, is your commitment. I'm not saying you have to have all the skills that you need to do the work, but have the passion. Want to do the work, have the heart for the work, and everything else will flow. And then people will tell you what they need. You don't have to come in with a solution. We are client-led, and so I like to have conversations and build relationships not only with my staff. So I know when, you having an off day, and I'll say, hey, Avery, let me get that for you. Let me go ahead and cover you today. You go home and regroup. Or I know when you're burning out as well. And so I like to take care of my people that are doing the work as well as the volunteer. Y'all my people too. And so I'm saying check your passion, check your commitment, and check your drive at the door. If you really are in a space where you're just like, I want to be a support, you can support in different ways, just not doing the work. And so that may be a little direct, but in order to really be effective at what we're doing, I feel like I need to be direct and say, if you ain't got the passion of the drive, don't walk through this door because you will burn out.
Yeah, no, I agree with T. You cannot instill passion in people, as I said earlier, and they have to have a shared vision of your mission. They have to agree with your purpose. And if that's the case, if they don't have that purpose, then do a food drive for us, collect cans in the community and drop them off. But don't just be a part of the organization to put something on your resume. We have a wonderful board of directors. We have a wonderful team at the YWCA, and we'll have individuals start in the Child Care Center, and they spent 4 years at college getting a teaching degree, and they recognize this isn't right for me. And that's okay, because it's work the rest of your lives. Unfortunately, I wasn't born to not work. So, and you don't get rich working for a nonprofit, but it means something to me every day. So and again, we all have out here, we have engineers, IT majors, accountants, and that's great. And if you want to volunteer, you don't have to start working for a nonprofit to give back to the community. Ashley's a volunteer for the YWCA board. She brings purpose and mission to every board meeting. And, that's what we're looking for, so there's so many different ways. You could read to children in the Child Care Center, and you could make a difference in their lives. The place to be, you could be a mentor to at-risk youth. And again, if you don't have time, you can donate money. We're all nonprofit organizations. It's tax deductible. So there's a lot of ways that you can get involved.
I just want to add to that because I laughed inside when you said you might not fit into every lane. So I'll tell you, when I started this college thing, y'all, I thought I wanted to be a teacher. I looked at them kids at that school, I said, those are y'all's kids. And then I said, you know what, I'm gonna go be a a cop. I want to be a cop. And then I was like, that's too much running for me. I ain't doing that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna be, a behavior interventionist. And at the time, that was my niche. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And so that was what I originally started school in. I changed my major, y'all, 4 times, all to go back to law enforcement and behavioral sciences. And so what I wanted to say behind that is, I think I got discouraged a little bit as I changed. Don't be. Really find out what you want to do and how you want to implement and execute that thing in life. I don't care if it takes you 1,000 tries. Girl, it took me 12 years to get out of college. And I got that master's degree in the right amount of time. So all I'm saying is take your time, really find your passion, hone in on that thing, and be the best at whatever it is you choose to do.
That was wonderful. Thank you for that. So many of us don't know what we want to do, and you find out real quick when you try things out. And when you're an intern, it's much better when you're an intern than when you're, working there as a job and thinking, oh, I won't have health insurance if I leave this place, so I'm stuck here. So yes, definitely take advantage of our internship programs. Get out there and try things, and it'll become clear to you. We do want to have some time for you all to ask questions. So if anyone's feeling brave, please come forward. The lovely Gray, I believe, will help you with the microphone. And what would you like to know? You've got your own.
Don't be scared, y'all. Somebody told me you get extra credit at the end.
Do you mind speaking closer to the microphone? Thank you.
So as somebody that is trying to get into diversity work, one of the things that I struggle with a lot is figuring out, a lot of the times I feel inadequate talking for people, especially because as someone with autism, I don't always identify with the community entirely. And I don't feel comfortable always speaking on behalf of them because I want to represent them well. So how do you guys deal with those types of feelings and figuring out when is the right time to speak out?
One thing that I'll say is that lean into your differences. Own those. Nobody expects you to be perfect, they expect you to be you. And when you can own who you are, you don't have to speak for people, you can speak with people, And so knowing who you are, feeling comfortable in who you are, nobody feels comfortable in community, I'll tell you that first and foremost. It's something that is built over time, You become more normalized with people, familiar faces, those things. And so give yourself grace in your own process. Own who you are, and then show up in those spaces ready to be someone who can add value to those spaces rather than extract from those spaces. Because people aren't looking for identity, they're looking for authenticity.
You handed the mic to me, you thought I had something to say? All right. So all I want to add to what Avery said was, show up in the space your most authentic self. Be the expert at what you are the expert for, or expert at. And again, relationships. I am going to continue to push relationships. I am a relationship person. And so when you have relationships with a diverse people, you don't have to actually speak for them, but you can give their experiences, or again, stand beside them and be their supporter, their advocate. And so I say, hone in on that. Be the expert of the thing that you are, and then just be your most authentic self. And if you don't know the answer to something, say that. It's okay.
And the fact that you came up and asked the question means you're well along your way.
Absolutely.
How do I answer this now. No, just be you. You be you. Be genuine. You know, I say that, you know, T's probably the best advocate for family resources if she's talking about her program. You know, I am about the YWCA Avery, is we have that passion, and people see that. You know, it's not like sending somebody up who doesn't know about the issues and such. So you're your best advocate, and just be genuine. People see that and they appreciate it. And yeah, I agree with T. I can't tell you how many times I've said I don't know the answer to that question, but I'll get it. I'll get you the answer for it. Or we don't have that at the YWCA, but you come back tomorrow and I'll have that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kind of similar, but not really. I really like working with people. I love doing working with social groups. I'm also very much an introvert, and I burn out really, really fast. I don't know. Do you guys how do you kind of work through that, knowing it, even if you're not technically an introvert? How do you work through that burnout, even if this is something I really want to do? I really want to work with these people. I really want to help these people. Oh man, they keep coming to me with all their problems, and all of a sudden the world is going to end. So how do you kind of work through that?
Well, I know we hear a lot about self-care, but it is so important. Taking that time for you. I mean, you know, it's burnout, not checking out, but you know, just taking time out for things that give you joy. I mean, I get home from work and my husband is just blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, just zip it. Just give me some time to decompress. You know, we now have 90-some employees. I've had at least, you know, a third of them come by my office and talk to me today, which is great. I have an open door policy and I want to be that, but sometimes you just need to shut down and then do something good for you, and then you're able to help others. Because if you're in that state where you're burnout, yeah, it's not a good place to be. But just take hold of, again, the little things that make a difference, and you know, what am I trying to say? I don't know. Just, you know, take hold of the good things that happen, and then understand that we all feel that way at some point.
I talk all day at work. When I get home, I don't want to say nothing. And so I think it's a conversation you have to have with yourself about boundaries and setting those things and how far that perimeter goes and sticking to them and not feeling bad. When I get home, I am an introvert. I don't want to see anybody, don't knock on this door, you know, don't call my phone, and I turn my email off. I have a timer for things that it's shut off. So if you didn't get me by 5:30, you can see me tomorrow. And so just be really strict with you. Set those boundaries and just stick to them.
And there's a difference between social boundaries and professional boundaries. If you got something you got to do at 3:30 in a meeting, it takes you 15 minutes to get there, and you got the meeting running from 2 o'clock still, tell that person, hey, I got this other meeting, nothing personal, I got to run. But I had to have a realization with myself, burnt out help doesn't help. No. We can't provide help if we're burnt out. And so prioritizing that downtime, I wake up early in the morning, I won't even tell you all the time, but I wake up pretty early and I do my own personal routines, you know, reading, meditating, grounding in myself, so that when the day comes and life circumstances hit, I'm not in the wind with everything. I'm centered in here. And things challenge it. Life has a funny way of pulling you out of your center to really get you to realize, like, it's the human experience, you know. But the more comfortable we can become in that, and the more comfortable we can stay grounded in ourselves, the greater things we can accomplish. And so, like she said, knowing the boundaries, say, oh, this is when I'm accessible, this is when I'm not. And communicating that with your community, network, loved ones, so they can respect it as you respect theirs. It's a living process. No one ever gets it perfect, but when we're committed to actually seeing it through, it's very possible and attainable. And the problems don't stop with us. You know, like it's an arc. And so don't expect to solve everything. Don't expect to be the solution to every problem. Own your humanness, you know. But in that also, when you are there, when you are showing up, give it your all. Because there's gonna be times of action, there's gonna be times of rest. Equally important, know which to switch.
Thank you.
I think we only have time for one more question. We've got 3 people. What would you like to do, Ashley? Why don't you all say your questions and we'll see if we can put it together.
I was going to say, as someone who is going into the education system and specifically as a music teacher, that tends to be oftentimes where kids find their safe place. How would you recommend, I wanted to talk specifically to you because you said that there were teachers that really helped support you and helped encourage you to get on a better path. How can we as teachers support our students that might be struggling, and how can we set them up for success?
Okay, we're gonna get his question too. I'm gonna answer yours though.
I had a very specific question as well for Mr. Pearl regarding the West End project and regarding how it addresses walkability and plans for that.
All right. So to answer your question about, so I did work in the Rock Island School District for 20 years. Y'all don't try to add my age up by that. So what I would say to you is, as a teacher, training will be important as you go into, I don't know what school district you'll work into, if it'll be diverse or anything like that. But what I would do is continue to get some training, cultural empathy, cultural competency, all of those things, so that as you encounter different cultures, different populations of children, that you will not look at them as, and I'm not saying that you are, I'm just saying you will look at them as individuals with specific needs, and you can utilize your skills and your talent in that music area to provide advocacy, therapy. I mean, you might not look at it as music, you know, but you can also teach them new skills through music. And so that's where I would hone in, because working in the school district working in the schools that I did, there was a high poverty population. And so I found myself parenting more than I found educating. And it was a joy, don't get me wrong, but it was also, again, you said burnout does not help. And so I would say get some continuous training, make sure that you know, when you get into the school district that you want to be in, you understand the population of students that you're teaching.
Thank you.
And I'll say to you, with walkable places, green infrastructure has been a huge conversation for us. Green spaces for healing has been a huge conversation for us too, because we believe environmental health and community health usually run parallel. And so building out those green spaces for community to actually gather at and heal at, but then having the walkable pathways, well lit, beautified, connecting those spaces is a goal for us too. And we actually met with Dr. Strunk last Friday, and we're going to be working with his urban development class in the spring to be able to have some of these concepts and plans be put together to map out what's in the community, what needs to be built where. And so some of you students in this room right now most likely will be working with us on a couple projects in the future with Western Revitalization. So be on the lookout for environmental, political science, whatever major you are, we're going to be coming to get you guys' help. So we appreciate the question, and we appreciate all of your interest in the work that we do. And Western Revitalization is the urban development plan for the West End of Rock Island, but we want it to be an inclusive process for anyone who is passionate about seeing urban communities be recreated, and empower those who've been living there and empower those who will come to live there in the future.
Unfortunately, I I've been given the signal from on above that I need to transition to our next speaker, but before I do, I really want to thank Ashley for putting together an amazing program, and each of you for speaking to our hearts and to our souls today. I mean, this was so much richer than we could have read about or just learned about, so thank you to each and every one of you. Next, we have the pleasure of hearing from our Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Gawi. Sorry, I said that wrong. Now I'm nervous and I'm messing up. I'm sorry. It's so embarrassing. No, I'm not going to be able to say it. Patel. Dr. Patel. We'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Can we all give a round of applause again for our wonderful and also Dr. Wolf for being such a fabulous. Today we gather to honor the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a man whose unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and collective action continues to inspire us. This year, Augustana College is proud to host a week-long celebration in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I encourage you to actively participate in the various events and activities planned throughout the week. Please know that these celebrations are a result of the hard work done by the MLK Planning Committee, who are part of the Diversity Council, and a multitude of student organizations, all under the leadership of Ashley Allen. Take this opportunity to engage in the poster-making sessions that are happening in the You Belong Lounge throughout the week. Be sure to visit Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. book display and participate in bookmark-making activities at the Treadway Library, also going on throughout the week. We are incredibly grateful to our campus community for contributing to the Martin Luther King Jr. campus-wide service project, resulting in the donation of 1,500 plus books to Longfellow Liberal Arts Elementary School in Rock Island. We invite you to attend the Speak for Change open mic night that is happening this Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. in these rooms itself. This promises to really be an inspiring evening of reflection and expression. And finally, we are proud to feature a book talk by Augustana College alumnus Dave Marquardt, who will discuss his memoir, From Dubuque to Selma and Beyond, My Journey to Understanding Racism in America. This event will take place this Thursday at 1:30 p.m. in Olin Auditorium. We look forward to seeing you at these events, and we really look forward to celebrating the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and continue to engage in meaningful conversations and actions as community. Dr. King's dream was not simply a vision for the future. It was a call to action. A call for each of us to take up the mantle of justice and equity and actively work towards creating a better world. As we reflect on his legacy, I want to focus on what this day truly represents. A day of remembrance, yes, but also a day of action. Dr. King once asked, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? That question challenges us to really move beyond reflection into purposeful action. The first step to answering Dr. King's call is education. Dr. King himself believed deeply in the power of knowledge as a tool for liberation. Today, I encourage each of you to reflect on what you know about the civil rights movement and the ongoing struggles for justice in our society and our community. Take the time to seek out voices that are often unheard, to understand the systems of inequality and inequity that continue to persist, and to learn the ways we can dismantle them. Education is not just about knowing your history. It's about recognizing how that history informs our present. As Dr. King said, we are not makers of history, we are made by history. Let us commit to learning that we can confront justice with clarity and conviction. The second step is engagement. Dr. King understood that change does not happen in isolation. It happens when communities come together. This MLK Day, I urge you to participate in acts of service, advocacy, or community building. Whether it is volunteering your time, joining conversations about equity, or supporting causes that fight for justice, your engagement matters. Dr. King's legacy teaches us that small actions, when multiplied by many, create waves of change. Look for opportunities to engage with your community, because every step forward contributes to the greater movement towards justice. Third, let us use our voices. Dr. King was not silent in the face of injustice. Neither should we be. He famously said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." Whether in our workplaces, our schools, or our communities, let us have the courage to speak out against injustice, to challenge inequities, and to advocate for those whose voices are often ignored. Speaking up isn't always easy, but it is so, so very necessary. When we call out injustice, we pave the way for understanding, for dialogue, and for the possibility of change. Dr. King taught us that our words have power. Let us use them wisely and boldly. Finally, action is where we make the greatest impact. Reflecting on Dr. King's legacy, we see a man who did not just dream of a better future, he worked tirelessly to build it. He marched, he organized, he sacrificed. Today we honor him by asking ourselves, what are we willing to do to make his dream a reality? Action can take many forms. It might mean mentoring someone, joining a community project, advocating for policies that promote equity. It does not have to be grand to be meaningful. Every small act of justice contributes to the greater good. As I close, I want to remind us all that Dr. King's dream of a beloved community, a world where justice, equality, and love prevail, is not something that one person can achieve alone. It requires all of us to take responsibility, to stand together, and to do the work. Dr. King once said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Let that be the reminder that we are all connected, and that means that we are all in this journey together towards equity. When we educate ourselves, when we engage with our communities, when we speak up, when we act, we are answering his call. As he said to us, we must walk on in the days ahead with an audacious faith in the future. His legacy is a testament to the power of collective advocacy, and its resilience is rooted in several enduring principles: that progress requires solidarity, that justice demands vigilance, that equality can only be achieved through persistent action. So today I leave you with a question. What will your action be? How will you honor Dr. King's legacy, not just today, not just during this week, not just during this month, but every day from now on? Let us move forward together, determined to make his dream a reality, not just for ourselves, but for every generation to come. Thank you. I would now like to invite Charlotte Boyer to come back on the stage to perform Lift Every Voice and Sing. The lyrics to the song are on the back of the program schedule sheet, and we invite all of you to sing along.
Lift every voice and sing, tell earth and heaven, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let all rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stormy the road we trod, bitter the chase we run. Future the days when hope unborn had died. With the steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, down now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of all wearies, God of all silent tears, thou who hast brought the stars far on the way, thou who hast fight thy mind, let us into the night, keep us forever in the cloud, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the place of God where we lay thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land.
Thank you all for attending our MLK Day program. Again, we hope you come to some of the events later on, but thank you all. Have a wonderful day.